evening, everyone, and welcome to Telstra Dome for a match of huge significance. It's the Kangaroos and Richmond, 8th versus 7th, but this match is much, much more. Tonight, we see the return of a hero, not of a game, but of humanity. 237 days ago, Jason McCartney's world, that of our country and so many others around this world, exploded literally when the Sari Club and Paddy's Bar in Bali were ripped apart by a bomb, an act of terrorism.
McCartney and teammate Mick Martin were at Paddy's Bar across the road from the Sari Club when the bombs went off.
I can remember waking up in the morning and getting a text message from my partner at the time saying that Jace and Mick had been in the Bali bombing.
A bit of the unknown. I knew there was guys there in Bali at the time.
So we turned the TV on and it was all over the news, and it was shocking.
And it all dawned upon us on how horrific the incident and the bombings had been.
We heard that him and Mick were okay. As the day went on, it became a lot worse.
And that Jace was in the guts of it was numbing. On the footy field, he could take a blow, but getting caught up in this, it was, he succumbed to some pretty bad burns.
Amid all the chaos, he managed to make his way to hospital, not realising the severity of his burns, which covered 50% of his body.
I remember visiting him in the Alfred Hospital, and he was just a shadow of himself. Like physically, he just looked like half the man he was.
He was that where he was laying in bed and couldn't move, and the burns over his body was very, very hard to describe.
The players were sad and angry that Jace had been injured in such a horrific way, and that so many other Australians and people from across the world lost their lives in an act of terror like this.
Out of hospital a month earlier than expected, Jason McCartney's recovery is nothing short of amazing. Emerging from weeks on the critical list after a touch-and-go battle for survival.
I suppose I was in a lucky situation, unlucky that what happened, but lucky enough that young and elite athletes are pretty fit and healthy. It gave me a chance to recover a little bit quicker maybe than the normal person in a situation like that.
His recovery process, I'm sure, privately would have been horrendous.
Jace's day would be 2.5 to 3 hours of, helping his wounds heal before he ever did the normal things that we all take for granted.
Pretty early on in that rehabilitation process, thoughts were definitely entering that goal of going back and playing football. And not play one game, but at that stage continue my AFL career.
I wasn't sure if he'd ever play footy again.
Probably thought he was being a little bit ambitious.
I never really thought he was ready to play AFL footy again.
No doubt I could sense that a lot of people thought I wouldn't make it back and thought I was absolutely crazy. Why on earth would I want to do that after everything my body's been through?
To see him back at training, he had to climb another mountain.
And he put on a brave front at the football club, but you had a sense of what he was going through every time you saw him.
If we started training at 4 o'clock, he was there at 2:45 getting ready, and it was literally 45 minutes to an hour of preparation time just to run out the training.
It's like playing footy with a couple of woolen jumpers on, given that the full-length body skins he had to wear.
Put a lot of cream over his body, put his skin pants on, put his skin top on, put his gloves on.
I knew it was part of the healing process, so yeah, it was a bit restrictive at times early on when I was out training, but just got used to it.
And then he started playing, and that was another level.
It was a day even Jason McCartney couldn't believe came so soon. Just 5 months after suffering terrible injuries in the Bali bombings, with half his body covered in pressure bandages, McCartney took to the field to play competitively for the first time since his ordeal.
I remember a lot because that was a monumental milestone. That was my 29th birthday. It was a VFL Reserves practice match. Look, for me, it was a great relief that day. Not so much worried about my injuries, but actually just being able to get out and realise and understand, hey, I can still do this, get a couple of kicks. But my form was really good at VFL level, and obviously it is a step down, but I thought I could have played a lot earlier, but I understood. Obviously for Dean Laidley, it was his first year as senior coach, a really difficult situation to be in. The club probably thought I'd never play again, so here I was knocking on the door of selection. They probably couldn't believe it was happening.
It was halfway through the year, he probably wasn't going that well. and he was cooked, and he said, "Look, I'm going to retire. You know, will you give me a game?" And I said, "Yeah, no worries."
Ultimately, I came to the decision with my wife about the retiring. It would have been about 4 weeks before I got back and played that last game or my first game, and what was my last game at AFL level. And it was pretty much off the back of playing some good VFL football, strained a calf muscle. Now, the injury was very minor, but what it was I had shrapnel wounds along with the burns, and it was some complications around that in my calf. And so I started to, I suppose, recount some of the unfortunate situations I've been in. Missing out on a premiership, losing a premiership first when I was at North in 98, 99, being suspended and missing out on one. Being in a situation in Bali of a terrorist attack, and now you've worked so hard to get back, it's just about there, and it felt like it was taken from me. So probably timely then that we thought, okay, my goals are going to change. I'm going to get back and play again for sure, but ultimately, whenever it would only be for the one game.
Clearly, he wasn't, in perfect condition, but he was so determined, and he earned his spot. It wasn't like he just came back in and played a game. He earned his spot in reserve levels.
He deserved to get a retirement game because of his services to the club and what he'd been through, and that was, that was never in question.
Yeah, well, obviously we're here to win games of football, and these things don't happen too often, and probably didn't realise the magnitude of him playing, what it represented.
When we heard Jason was going to play again, the amount of energy, it just grew, doubled amongst the group.
It inspired me to any length, because it was just it was amazing effort. It was truly amazing effort to get back and play.
But what a moment this is for not only Australia, not only for AFL football, but for the free world as well. And I'm not trying to over-dramatise things. This shows that terrorism, as I said, will never beat courage. Welcome back indeed, Jason McCartney, an inspiration to all.
I can remember Jace running on and the crowd just going ballistic. It was probably one of the loudest roars I've heard.
The main focus was to be able to win that game that night. That was the team focus. That was the focus for me. Secondary to that, I wanted to be able to make sure I could contribute. That's the most important thing.
Jace was renowned for his defence and playing in the back line, but on this night, the club put him as a forward.
Where will he start, Dean? Oh, he's going to start on the bench.
No rotations back in 2003. I spent the whole first quarter on the bench, so that once again was a little bit frustrating, but came onto the ground second quarter, full forward, Richmond cheer squad end.
Welcome back to football.
And that is fantastic. The spirit is alive and well. The Richmond cheer squad get to their feet. You guys take a bow too. That is sportsmanship.
What a ploy. They stood to a man and applauded me, and it worked well for him because I don't think I got kicked. Might have gave a couple away that quarter.
He's gone straight to full forward, Jason McCartney, Andy Kellaway on him. There's only one group of people in Australia that don't want him to kick the first goal of this second quarter, and that's the Richmond coaching box. I don't even think the fans are begrudging one.
I think when he came to me or I started playing on him, I thought, oh, I'm sort of on a bit of a hiding to nothing. If I do it right on him, and I could be the bad man there.
Yeah, I did feel for Andrew because he was in a no-win situation. If he beat Jace McCartney that night, everyone's going to say, he tried too hard and all this sort of stuff.
Inside the 50, loose ball. McCartney, first touch, couldn't control it. Kellaway went to ground, playing on an Aussie hero, was pushed in the back. We'll get the free kick. That is a tough gig.
And my opponent, it was Andrew Kellaway, and treated no differently. And once you cross that line, I suppose a fair game for everyone. I certainly was that night.
Got it to Grant, ran into trouble, taken down by Bell. Brown again, got it to King, penetrating kick inside the 50. McCartney behind, and McCartney has taken the mark.
Yes, I was early in the last quarter, and David King got hold of it and led out, and just all of a sudden I was front position.
Big body, couldn't get my fist around, and he took a good mark.
Imagine the lift this will give the Kangaroos. You dare say, as his wife Carissa looks on, if he kicks this, they will be very hard to toss.
Extremely nervous lining up for that kick. There was a close game, but what I was probably more concerned about is I needed to wear the gloves because the burns on the hands, the pressure garments were quite slippery. So kicking for goal, it could impact on the ball drop.
What a start to the term it would be. Jason McCartney knows how to kick them.
I was just so relieved when it dropped out nicely of the hand, and there was good connection on the foot, and I pretty much knew as soon as I hit the foot it was going through. So yeah, a lot of excitement and great relief, to be honest.
The result is almost irrelevant. Have a listen to that. There's everyone in the crowd here is celebrating that.
Well, the symbolism of all that.
Magnificent.
You could clearly see the inspiration that he had created for his teammates.
So he's kicked a goal, which kept us in the game, and then he was involved in the contest that led to Lee Harding running into an open goal and kicking the goal that put us in front.
He kicks inside the 50. Gunnerwood's full forward, runs the ball. McCartney toe pokes it. Picked up by Harding. He goes in. Another lead change.
Yeah, when the siren went, it was quite emotional. A lot of relief. The main thing was important that we won the game.
Fairy tales do come true.
All I probably thought about as a young kid growing up in Nil was this dream of playing AFL footy. And I'd lived that dream for 13 years and now it was over, and I suppose that was the most sobering moment, the realisation that you've lived it, now it's finished, and that was probably quite daunting.
Yeah, I suppose this is no better time than I think I've used up every inch of my determination through my fitness and I suppose mental effort, and I find it fitting now that I'll hang the boots up as of tonight and go out on a great note. Because I'm spent. It's been a tough time, but that's enough for me, mate.
His goal was to play an AFL game, and he achieved that, and he did it with such class and dignity. Obviously transcended sport, really.
Jace was the reason we won. He won't like us saying that as teammates.
I love seeing guys with their back against the wall come back and prove everyone wrong. So where does that sit in my career? It would certainly be in the top 3 moments of my playing career.
Oh, look, it's a fairy tale story. One of the most inspiring things that I've seen.
And that hopefully no one ever has to play in a game with such significance again.
To get back and play and then finish up there, you could clearly see it was a huge mental battle for him to go through, and but one I'll remember for a while.
I would have really struggled beyond that. It was such a high point in the career that how do you the next week get up and play again type thing. So yeah, comfortable then and really comfortable now. Some what are we, nearly 12 years on, that we made the right decision.
I think it would have inspired not only us as his teammates, but also inspired those that were affected and injured in the bombings as well to fight, to get back and to try and live a normal life again as well. And that will probably help heal some of those mental scars.
It's part of his makeup now, it's part of who he is and the type of man he is.
To be honest, it doesn't define me, it's part of me and I have to accept that.
Jace, he's a fighter and he's got courage and he's a character, and that's what he needed and that's what he had and that's what got through him this time.
Obviously my wife was huge. I don't think that I would have made it through without her. Day and night by my side in hospital, there's no doubt about that.
And well, mate, Marissa shed a tear there. A tear of happiness.
I owe the club a hell of a lot because they stuck by me, and look, they provided me with the opportunity to continue playing AFL footy, and I'm forever grateful for that.